if they've done no planning, really like, hey, this is the first time I'm paying attention to this stuff because I feel like I'm close. The workshops, these are great places for them to come, get some general information, get a really good taste for what they're about to probably go through in the retirement process. Okay, so we're here today with Mike Cravath, one of our advisors here at Stonehouse. And Mike, we work as a company. We work a lot with Procter & Gamble retirees, people on the verge of retirement, people still, many years from retirement. But a lot of the work that we do are folks that are just ready to retire. And they want to know, is it time? Can I do all that stuff? And we do a lot of workshops. You have one coming up. Is it March?
It's in March, yep.
Yeah. Okay, and I think there's probably one or two, right, that'll be on the calendar?
There's going to be two in March, so it's going to run consecutive weeks on Wednesdays in March. I believe it's the middle of March.
Okay, perfect. So we'll get those dates linked to this video, but real quick, let's just try to talk for just a couple of minutes about, give folks an idea of what you do during these workshops. These what are they, about an hour long?
Yeah, they're about an hour long. So what we do in the workshop, so they're kind of separated into two parts. So the first part is a presentation that I'll go through, and we'll talk about some things that we made a video on in September of last year called the 4 pillars of retirement planning. So during that portion of it, we'll kind of go into some high level financial planning topics to give you an idea of, if you're thinking about retirement or thinking about getting away from P&G, of what you should start looking into, because it's a little more complicated than just, what's the balance of my profit sharing, what's my salary. There's definitely a wider range of things that go into it. So that'll be that portion. And then afterwards too, we'll ask the audience if they have any specific questions for me, specifically about their situation, what they have going on. And I'll even stay afterwards too, if you want to have a one-on-one conversation about your specific plan, because obviously getting into the specifics is what you want to do more than just talking about the high level stuff.
Right. So for folks, so they understand the process, if they've done no planning, really like, hey, this is the first time I'm paying attention to this stuff because I feel like I'm close. The workshops, these are great places for them to come, get some general information, get a really good taste for what they're about to probably go through in the retirement process. And then the next step would probably be schedule like a one-on-one meeting with someone like yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a really, really great place to start. And, definitely don't be alarmed if you're in that camp there, because most people really don't start thinking about it until, they start to get that idea of, can I leave or not, and we can definitely help out with that.
Yep. Great. I want to ask you about a couple of things, Joe, because we talked a little bit before we started rolling, because there are some kind of specific things with P&G, especially that they go through, reasons they're saying, hey, I think I'm ready. And it's not always a financial reason, right? What are some of the reasons that people are coming in saying, I think it might be time for me to retire?
Yeah, I think there's many reasons, right? There's a plethora of reasons, whether it's I want to spend more time with my family, I want to travel more. There's all sorts of different reasons. I'm going to have a health issue going on that's making me think about what the next step looks like. I'd say the core of it, though, if you really pop the hood on that, is burnout. I think a lot of people are burnt out, especially after COVID. That was a tough time to get through. And now even post-COVID, it's hard to find employees to do a lot of different jobs. It's not just P&G specific, but I think it's making that tough on them, because the burnout a lot is due to dealing with that swing shift. For 20, 30 years, it's tough, doing a day shift and a night shift and never really getting a solid sleep schedule going. So I think that, coupled with the fact that you're also doing more work when you're at the plant and also not having a lot of people to be your backup, and also doing more forced overtime too, is causing a lot of people to look at what that next step looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. What about, do people come to you typically when they sit down? Do they know they can afford to retire, or are they kind of rolling the dice, or are they saying, Mike, where am I? You tell me. And how does that work?
I think that's probably one of the biggest questions I get from people when we actually talk about their specific situation is can I afford to retire? And I think that question has gotten even more difficult to answer in the past couple of years, because inflation has been really high, and the cost of everything, whether it's groceries, your gas, your living situation, it's all substantially higher than what it was. So, maybe $4,000 a month today doesn't get you what it got you 3 years ago.
Sure.
And that's kind of a scary situation.
Yeah.
When you look at people affording to retire, especially with P&G, it's kind of, you look at the previous generation and they were there for, 20, 25 years, and the stock grew tremendously, and there were all these different stock splits and things along those lines. And by the time you put 25 years in, you were a millionaire, and you were used to a pretty low lifestyle too, as far as the amount of money you need in retirement. So it was a bit easier, 20, 25 years ago. Today, I think that question is a lot more difficult to answer, which is why a lot of people are coming in for meetings.
Yeah. It's just different time in a company's life cycle, and stock prices, they just behave differently over time. So you just have to get used to it. But overall, a lot of the folks that we're working with have a lot to work with already. And that's the key. And then our job is really just to kind of help them have a smoother ride in retirement, transition into retirement, and then a smoother ride during, right? So what are some of the things that we're doing? I know the answer, right? So this is kind of a loaded question, but tell everybody, what are some of the things that we're doing to help them when it comes to retirement planning?
Yeah. So
specific to P&G.
Specifically for P&G employees, sure. The first thing that we want to take a look at is, can you afford to retire, right? Yep. So putting together a long-term financial plan, including different things like healthcare, estate planning, getting yourself a paycheck in retirement, how am I going to get paid? Putting that into a plan and kind of, seeing if you're on track. And then if you're on track or you're off track, taking a look at the current investments you have and seeing if it makes sense to change those up. Because within that profit sharing plan and the 401k, if you're invested in it, there are some different options too. So everything goes in there and it's all P&G stock by default. But, depending on if you want more safety or if you want to go a little more aggressive and look at more upside on some different, a bit riskier investments, maybe, you can always look at some different options too.
Yeah. It's great stuff. I think you help people through a lot of, it's stressful when they come and they realize all the levers they have to pull to make this work, right? It's a lot more than just saying, hey, I'm done in 2 weeks. Here's my notice. And so when you really think about it, there's some tax strategies that I know that we help with if they're interested in that, depending on when they need their money. And people don't think about that they're getting their paycheck each week, every other week for decades. And all of a sudden, where's my next check coming from? And we're used to living on that. So we usually find that monthly or biweekly checks and getting on that same spending schedule that you were on before you left work probably helps to keep you from these random lump sum distributions, which I always say are retirement killers. You don't want to take huge chunks of change out of your retirement because it's hard to get that back. So anything else we're missing? This is happening in March, right? A couple of different things.
It's happening in March, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a pretty good synopsis of what to expect as far as coming into the seminars if you choose to do so, or even individual meetings too.
Yeah. Free to attend. Why not? We're 10 minutes down the road. It was a real good quarterly announcement they just had. We saw in January here the P&G stock jumped up a bit. So it could be a good time for some people to pay attention and say this might be the right time for me. So
yeah,
Mike, thank you very much for being here.
Thanks, Bob.
I'll call you on the next one.
All right, sounds good.